This is a village concept, and it takes all of us to make this happen. But it also requires patience on our part because it's actually a cultural shift. But to put a stop to it and go, I want to redirect this, we have to anticipate the fact that change won't happen overnight. I've seen the shift, and it's real and it happens, but we have to on purpose aim at that and not forget that we are aiming at that.
Court systems are designed to be adversarial, and even though the Juvenile Court Act says that juvenile proceedings are not to be adversarial in character, they are.
When families come in for a regular dependency court hearing, we really don't address the parents.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We address the caseworker who will fill us in on how the parents are doing on their case plan tasks. And it's pretty cut and dry. We give a date 4 months later for the next time that they have to appear, and it doesn't really feel like the parents are invested or that it's about them.
There's a lot of detachment. The judge sits on an elevated bench. I wear a black robe so that, I'm devoid of any biases or any emotion or any kind of individualized attention to certain details.
What I found in presiding over the cases in our early childhood court, I start the court hearing by addressing the parents. And I ask them how they're doing, how their visits are going, what have they done with their kids that week, so that the parents are drawn into the proceeding so that they feel invested in this process.
With early childhood court, the judge is really one of the key components, and having a trauma-informed judge who convenes this multidisciplinary team. The attorneys, the case managers, the child welfare, the clinicians, and they all work together to help make this family successful. So it's really the judge's role to convene the team, to ask for input from the team, and court asking their opinions, and really to value the team as information so that they can make a better decision.
DCFS decided to adopt the court team model because we felt that while we were very pleased with the outcomes we were seeing in the Illinois Birth Through 3 waiver, I like to say it was only A, B, and C in the case. We had done a phenomenal job of changing how we do assessments. We had established 2 really good interventions, child-parent psychotherapy and the nurturing parenting program. But there were so many factors outside of that were going on in the case that we really did not have the ability to impact. And so court teams for me is what I call A to Z. It is the entire case, and it brings in partners throughout the entire child welfare system, the judicial legal system, mental health systems, community-based programming, all coming together, hopefully to achieve the same aims.
One of the benefits of families participating in early childhood court is that permanency is achieved at a different rate. And that's happening at a much quicker pace than in traditional dependency court.
The core tenets of the court team model in Illinois are trauma-informed practices, and we feel that's very, very important, so that we look at not only the experiences of infants and toddlers who've experienced trauma and adversity, but really remain mindful of the things that their parents have experienced. It's a developmentally informed practice. One of my colleagues likes to say that some people think of the infants and toddlers as the easy cases because they're so little. And in fact, it's the most precious time of life and where we have so much potential that can be realized or lost if we don't attend to the developmental needs. And so bringing an entire, even if that's not your area of practice, if you're a defense attorney, if you're the judge, being more aware of exactly what's changing for children at each developmental period. It's a family-centered approach which really respects all of the supports that families might have or need to build. that in that perspective, we're looking a lot at natural help and natural supports, because our goal is to get children into their homes, into communities. And so we're going to leave, and it's really important that we remain from day one mindful of who's going to support this family. And the last one is a system of care perspective, and that means that's our coordination. Our new tagline is "We coordinate because babies can't wait." And we are trying to bring that proverbial everybody getting on the same page to the court team model. And so rather than us each acting in our own little silos, it's important that we come together and work on behalf of this family and move them in the same direction at the same time.
So similar to what we did in the Illinois Birth Through 3 waiver project, we took different developmental tools and an assessment of the child's trauma experiences, and we're using them to assess children in the Safe Baby Court Team project. And one of the tools used is the Child and Adolescent Needs and Strengths Assessment, or the CANS. And the part of that tool that we're using is the one that records in a numeric way what a child's trauma experiences are. We ascribe particular importance and higher risk to children who the CANS reveals that they have high actionable items in 3 or 4 of those areas, with particular attention to the interpersonal trauma areas, which are sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, physical abuse, family violence, those sorts of things.
Young children are really adversely impacted by trauma. They may not have the words to tell us, or may not have developed verbal capacities to full extent just yet, or are able to verbalize feelings like older children may, but they are deeply impacted by trauma. And so CPP is an intervention that really helps to support their healing through these experiences in the context of their relationship with either their birth parent or other foster parents or caregivers who are maybe around them.
One of the things that I particularly like about the Nurturing Parenting program, in addition to the educational piece, is the support. I've often found that it is sort of a shared vulnerability that our parents end up really experiencing for some people for the first time. And the way the Nurturing Parenting program is set up is that we start every single week with a check-in where parents are able to talk about what their week's been like, what's been going on with their children, what changes they've seen, but we also very quickly incorporate questions where they start reflecting back on their own histories, often of their own abuse, their own trauma, their own neglect, and we help them connect how their experiences have created the type of parent that they are at this point, and really help encourage and support them in what kind of dreams they have for their children going forward.
So it's all about relationships and experiences that help kids thrive. And the best time to do that is first 1,000 days. Almost all the families coming into child welfare have abuse or neglect or trauma histories themselves. And for many times we haven't healed the parents' underlying issues. So when you finally address whatever it was in their history that's causing their substance abuse or their depression or whatever's keeping them from being a good parent, when they heal that or learn to manage that, then they don't need to do the drugs, or they have the capacity to be a good parent. And we know the drivers of development. We know that poverty, lack of health care, trauma, and toxic stress push kids from a healthy trajectory down to an at-risk or delayed trajectory. We also know the protective factors and the interventions that can push kids who are delayed or at risk back into a healthy trajectory.
I've had the opportunity to observe families who are just completely overwhelmed with the numbers of things that they're being asked to do. And it's particularly challenging when we're not talking to one another. So they don't often understand even how one thing is different than another. And so that can be challenging for them, that they just feel that it's just a burden, a lot of obligations, and we're not making sense of it all.
I see this like as a new beginning for the system, for some of our families and children. It's a way to focus shift from the court being in charge to more the families being in charge. It's an opportunity for attorneys, social workers, judges, and especially the families and the children to start to work together for their common goal. It's with a sense of urgency, and it's with a sense of trust and respect between all parties, which I think is very important.
Change is hard. Most of us default to the way we've always done things, and we don't embrace change. And early childhood court is change on every level. And so to have people come together and work as a team, it's not just about training. You really have to relearn and throw your old training out the window and say, okay, so for the good of the child, we are going to come together. We're all going to bring our expertise to the table, and we're going to help this family be successful. And it's hard, but when the caseworkers listen to the mental health person on why it is that they should be given, and so they learn to value each other, it enriches the decision, and we're making better decisions. And so families are not being reunified too fast and coming back into the system because we've misjudged it, nor are we TPRing families that could be reunited.
And the way to do that, I think the way we need to do that is to make certain we empower our families, give them the tools in their toolbox, their parenting toolbox, in which to improve the lives of my children.
So we don't give up on any families. We go into it with that there is hope for every family. We're going to give you everything that we can, and we want you to be successful, and we're with you. And if you can do it, great. If you can't, we're going to get that child a permanent family so that he can live a good life.
Our expectations equal our outcomes. And we're expecting great things of the program, but I think it's important for families to come into this most challenging experience of being involved with the court system, involved with the child welfare system, having all these people in their lives, looking at them, looking on them. And I hope that we are going to be conveying an expectation that we believe in you and you can do it. And I hope that they're able to tell us that that's what they felt through their involvement with us, a belief that it's possible, and we're here to support you every step of the way.